Welcome to Millennium Live. My name is Katie. I'm joined here today by Dani Cushion from Cardlytics. Thanks so much for coming today.
Thanks for letting me join you. I'm excited to do this virtually.
Me too. So for anyone who's not familiar with Cardlytics, can you give us a brief overview of what the company does and what makes you unique?
Sure. Yeah, we're a lot of people might not know our name because we're a white label company, but we're actually one of the biggest digital ad platforms in the country. So, we present advertising through banks' digital channels. And what I mean by that is if you were to look at your Chase app or your Bank of America app or your Wells app and you see ads in there that are presented in the form of cashback offers, that is all run by Cardlytics. So we're a company that reaches over 140 million bank customers. So that actually makes us bigger in the States than, Pinterest, Snap, Twitter. So we're this large ad platform. I think what makes us really interesting and different is not just where we are able to drive marketing for our clients. We work with a bunch of the biggest brands in the country, but also what we use to power our campaigns. And so since we work with these banks, we have a really interesting view in how consumers are spending their money. So in an aggregated and anonymized way, we are able to use all of the bank's purchase data to be able to inform and help our marketers understand where a customer is shopping when they're not shopping with them. How do we actually want to use that kind of insight to target in the campaigns that we run? So how do we actually use past purchase history as the means by which we're actually presenting campaigns so people are actually getting ads they care about? And then how do we actually close the loop for them by saying, all right, did the ad campaign that we ran for our clients through the banks actually drive a sale in store or online? We're a company that's been around for about 12 years. We're headquartered out of Atlanta, but we're in New York and Oakland and London as well as we do have an office in India too. And we've had a good experience working with Millennium Alliance so far. So we're really happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. Thank you. So you have insight into nearly 6 million in consumer spend every single day. So that must give you a really unique.
That's every minute.
Every minute. Every minute. So that must give you a unique view. So can you tell us more about what you're seeing right now?
Sure. Yeah, this is a super interesting time, and I think it's always been a really interesting and valuable data set that we sit on and use to help our marketers grow their businesses by reaching people in this pretty amazing channel. It's actually never been more interesting or more needed than it has been in the last 3 to 4 months, because we can actually see what is happening with consumer spend. So the way that we look at it, we do have a couple research pieces that we've put out there at the industry level called the State of Spend, where you can actually see what's happening. But the way that we work with our clients on an individual basis is, really trying to help understand how are people spending in their category? Is it completely gone? Is it down? Is it different in certain DMAs? Has it completely shifted online? Has it, what we're seeing is there are some categories of spend where it's gone up significantly, and you can sort of picture what they might be, right? On-demand fitness players and streaming companies and online groceries through the roof. And the challenges that we work through with those clients is really, really different in how do you actually retain all of the interesting customers that they've acquired in this time. That's a super different problem than those that have been impacted with, heavy in-store reliance, so retail and, travel is non-existent right now, as you know. But so what we're doing is we use the purchase data that we have access to really to help our clients and, the broader ecosystem understand when is spend coming back, where is it coming back, when is it appropriate and not tone deaf to actually reach out and market to consumers again. You don't want to be in a situation where you're, driving people out of home and saying like, come to my store, and it's just not safe to do that in some cases. So it's been a really interesting time, and I think it's been a good lifeline, I think, for a lot of our clients to really get a handle on what the heck is happening and how do I plan and come out the other side of this thing, whenever that may be.
Right. So I know you're mentioning kind of timing and whenever that may be, are you seeing anything currently that we might be turning a corner or that you might see a return happening soon?
Yeah, great question. And actually, in the state of spend reports that we've put out, that's actually one of the first things that we're looking at. So, we're a heavy data and analytics shop. Even though we're really an advertising platform, we've got a super heavy data and analytics history because it takes those chops to be able to crunch what we have. The state of spend reports that we put out recently actually looked at what is spend looking like, through March, through April on a weekly basis. We actually have a dashboard internally that we use, at a client level for our clients. But when you come up to the macro and look at how is spend overall coming back, I think, through the end of April, year-over-year weekly spend overall, and this is for the whole country across all categories, was down year-over-year like 21%. Now, if you go back to late March into April 1st, the numbers, it's down way more. It was down like 34%. So what you're actually seeing is we are actually starting to see a bit of a U/V turn, that is, I think, driven by certain states and certain economies opening up, having a bit more comfort level. I think for the recent report that we're putting out as well, the latest through May 20th actually shows that year-over-year weekly spend is only down about 13%. So we are starting to see improvement. What I'll say is we're looking at something that we call a recovery indicator also, because that 13% year-over-year down is somewhat normalized by the fact that there are categories that are doing really, really well. All right, like online grocery is crushing it. A streaming service is crushing it. So that pulls that up. We are also looking at what we would say is a recovery indicator, and it's really a leading indicator of picking a bunch of industries that have been the most severely impacted, like retail, like in-store grocery, like restaurants, where you actually have to go into a location and eat. And there is some good news, there, but the recovery is clearly not as quick, clearly not as high as only down 13%. And so, we actually look at that state by state and then by industry, so you can really see, when are consumers ready to come out?
So how are you using this to inform your advertising partners, particularly the ones that may have cut their marketing budgets?
Yeah, that's a great question. The ones that like desperately need to just get acquires and then keep them, not an easy problem, but easier. I will say one of our largest clients, who's a national coffee retailer, had cut pretty much all of their marketing budget as soon as this thing hit, and largely because it just didn't feel right for them to drive people out of their homes. They had cut everything except for a few campaigns and segments with us, because we were able to actually look at how do we just reach the consumers who are actively spending in that category. And what it allowed them to do is we can present cashback offers through banks to only those people, because it pretty much means that they're out already because they're likely essential workers. They may be first response. It's only in areas where there are appropriate drive-through or, clear curbside pickup operations going. And so they could feel good about how do you actually market in a way that feels socially responsible and is not tone deaf, but completely based on only reaching those who are spending in that category. And then, another way that we're helping with those who are opening operations, or as different states open up, how do you actually look at, okay, as a state opens up and spend in the category starts to go up, how do you start to adjust your campaign targeting and just reach those bank customers to give them, the ability to save money back, or to save money on the stuff that they want as the economy opens in those states. And so it's a very measured approach, but we've got great clients, and we're super happy we're able to help them through it.
Great. Just, I guess, personally, are there any trends that you find really interesting right now?
Yeah, there's one actually I just saw for the first time a couple days ago. And it's sort of intuitive, but it's super interesting. And I only have the Georgia numbers. I don't have the national numbers in front of me. But home and garden as a category,
Oh,
in the last, I think through the end of May, or like through May 20th, was up 34% year over year, up
wow.
34%. And so like as people are starting to get comfortable, coming out, like they're at home, they're doing a lot of work on their homes, a lot of work on their gardens. Georgia is probably a little higher than nationally, I think, just because it's nice down here already.
Yeah.
I think that was super interesting. I think some of the stuff that we've seen with, on-demand fitness is really interesting, and a lean towards e-com driven spenders. So D2C brands. I think what's going to be interesting is those that have, the consumers who have adopted e-com, like online shopping at a faster clip, have come from smaller cities. And we think that might be for a couple of reasons. Like we actually think it might be because they just don't maybe have as many options around them to be able to go out safely and buy stuff.
Okay.
But also maybe there's a little catch up playing there. So I think the stuff that we're really looking at is to see whether those trends persist even as we come out of that. Like, is there going to be a heavier shift to online shopping that will actually stick? Yeah, perhaps. And the retailers and the brands who actually totally embrace that and lean into it are the ones that will keep market share. The ones that are still a bit behind or in denial are the ones that will lose market share. And it's been a trend that's been happening for a while. I mean, we all know online spend has been shifting, but 80% of purchases still typically happen in a store. This has been a unique catalyst for really exacerbating that change in shopping behavior. So just having an understanding of what the landscape looks like, of how people actually want to shop, has been really, really interesting as we work with other marketers and CMOs to say, all right, what does this mean for how you actually address your customers?
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of other CMOs, why do you think executive education might be so important right now, especially during the current times?
Yeah, it's a lifeline, isn't it? I
Yeah.
think it's, I sit on a couple of different CMO forums, sort of one a week, maybe one every other week with several different groups. And it's just been helpful to have regular topics that we discuss, to be able to go through and say, how are you handling, anything from return to office stuff, to shifting your marketing strategy, to, just honestly, the sharing community that's come up has been incredibly helpful. And honestly, the executive education, whether it is a community-based group like that, or whether it's just actively going out and seeking new strategies, the world has been flipped on its head, and marketing strategies largely went out the window. I love that we're able to do this digitally, because I know we've done a lot of in-person events with you, but getting yourself and your teams geared up and ready to try something different to actually help reach the companies that need help in a way that they're willing and ready and able to hear it. Marketing strategy is taken a huge pivot in the last 3 months. And I think educating yourself on how to actually go to market differently in a really weird environment has been absolutely crucial.
For sure. So just lastly, you've been a partner with us for a long time.
Yeah.
What, from your past experience, makes Millennium Alliance so great for today's leaders?
Yeah, it's a great question. You guys have been a great partner. And I think it's what's interesting for us, and this is where I get to really geek out in my job too, because I get to spend time with other CMOs across a whole bunch of different industries. And it's really what you guys are founded upon as well, like bringing conversations together. We as a company at Cardlytics are always super happy when we can help our clients win, and to put the power in their hands to actually drive their business and really drive incremental sales and really move the needle. And I think we are very aligned with you, in that you're a great forum for bringing those conversations together. So it's been really helpful to work with Millennium. The team at Cardlytics have really appreciated it, because it's just nice to be able to have those conversations with the brands that are on the front lines and seeing what's happened, and many old clients, many new clients, in the conversation with you. So it's been a good partnership. So thank you.
Thank you. And hopefully we'll be seeing you soon in person, and of course in a few weeks at our virtual assembly. But thank you so much for joining us today, and hopefully see you soon.
Great. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.